Okay, let's start the today's session. Today we are going to discuss about deadlock. Under deadlock, what is deadlock and what is the deadlock prevention? What do you mean by deadlock detection and what is starvation? Okay, so these are the main topics we are going to discuss under deadlock. So first we need to understand what you mean by deadlock. Okay, in the database management system, in which particular scenario or which particular condition we are calling it as a deadlock. Maybe the same deadlock concept you would have studied in operating system subject, but again in this DBMS it differs a little bit. So from in the below diagram, just you can understand the reason for the deadlock. So here in this diagram we have two transactions, transaction T1 and transaction T2, and transaction T1 is holding and using the student data. That means it made a lock and it is using the data here. Okay, so this transaction, the student data is being holded or locked by the transaction T1, and again the same transaction T1 is requesting for the grade data. This is another data, which is again this grade data is already been holded by the transaction T2. Okay, so there are two transactions, there are two data items, and here the thing is one transaction is holding one particular data item and it is waiting to access the another data. Similarly, here the another transaction T2, it is actually holding the grade data item, and again it is requesting and it is waiting for the student data to be released. Okay, so the thing is, when the transaction T1 is using the student data, before it is accessing the data, it actually made us it is actually provided a lock. Okay, so that the student data cannot be accessed by the transaction T2 until the transaction T1 releases the student data. It cannot be, that is, it cannot be accessed by the transaction T2. Similarly, the transaction T2, before it uses the grade data, it actually made a lock and then it is start using it and it is holding it. Okay, so until it releases the unlock, or only until it releases the grade data, and the T1 transaction cannot access it. Okay, so to complete the transaction T2, it requires the student data, and again to complete the transaction T1, it requires the grade data. Okay, again both the data is being holded by two different transactions, and then again both the data items are requested by the same two different transactions. Okay, so if this type of condition occurs, then you can call it as a deadlock. Okay, so now let's see the exact description or explanation about the deadlock. Deadlock occurs when each transaction T in a set of two or more transactions is waiting for some item that is locked by some other transaction T in the set. So in the previous example, we have two transactions, T1 and T2, and these two T1 and T2 is actually waiting for the data item which is locked by other transaction. Okay, that is T1 is waiting for the data item which is being holded or locked by the transaction T2. Okay, it is vice versa, and each transaction in the set is in waiting queue, waiting for one of the other transaction in the set to release the lock on an item. So unless the lock on a particular data item has been released, the transaction which is waiting and requesting may not access the same data item. Okay, so but because the other transaction is also waiting, it will never release the lock, because in the previous slide you can see since it is waiting for the transaction to be completed, then it will not definitely release the lock. Okay, so the grade is being locked by the transaction T2. It will not release the lock until the transaction T2 is over. Okay, the same thing here also, the transaction T1 is already locked the student data item, which will not be released by the transaction T1 until it completes the data, or until it completes the process. Okay, so until it completes the transaction, it will not release. Okay, so this type of situation, a kind of standstill situation, we call as a deadlock. Okay, so here in the database management system, when you take two transactions, you can draw, you can write like a schedule like this. When you see the same condition, right? So here you can see this particular serializability checking, you can draw like a precedence graph. We already studied what is a precedence graph, and this type of precedence graph, or otherwise we can call it as a wait for graph. Okay, we can call it as a wait for graph also, because you are mentioning the waiting data here, right? Here in this example, the T1 transaction is there. The transaction T1 is waiting for X, and which is holding Y, and then again T2 is waiting for Y, and then it is again holding X. Okay, so one is holding one data and waiting for the other data item to be released. The same thing. So here also, this particular transaction is waiting for Y, and it is which is locked by T1. Okay, and same thing here, T1 is waiting for X, and which is locked by T2. So if this condition occurs in the transaction, then you can call it as a deadlock. And so as we saw in the previous, the main topics, the first one is deadlock prevention protocols. Okay, so prevention, that is if you are taking some necessary action or the appropriate the measurement before something happens. Okay, that's called prevention. See here how you can prevent the deadlock, right? So by applying different type of protocols, prevention protocols, you can do the deadlock prevention. The first protocol is which is using protocol 1, which is using conservative 2PL. So conservative 2PL we have studied in the previous topic. That is when a transaction takes place, only when all the data item which is set free, which is not been locked by any other transaction, then only the transaction will take place. That is what we already studied. Okay, the conservative 2PL, for example, if a T1 is starting its execution transaction. Okay, so if the T1 is trying to access the data item XYZ, if all the XYZ data item are totally free, then only the transaction T1 will start its process. Okay, so otherwise, if any one of the data item, for example, if it's a Z data item is been locked by another transaction, say for T2. Okay, so if that Z data item is being locked by transaction T2 and it is not free now, then what the transaction T1 will do now? The transaction T1 will look for the data item because the Z is already locked by transaction T2, so it will not proceed. Okay, so this type of protocol, what we say, is a conservative 2PL, and practically it is somewhat difficult to implement. Okay, it is actually deadlock free, but again, practical, there is a limitations are there, right? So then next one is ordering all data item. The next protocol is ordering all data item. So here, when a particular transaction is going to take place, so what are the data item are going to be used by the particular transaction? So that should be placed, or that should be in a proper order. Okay, for example, if the transaction T1 is there, if the transaction T1 is going to execute, for example, 4 data item X, Y, Z, and Z1. Okay, for example, if in which order the transaction T1 is going to be executed, in the same order, if all the data items are ordered or arranged, then you can proceed. Okay, that is you can start your transaction. So in that way, you can avoid the deadlock. And here, this particular protocol is also practically, it is somewhat difficult to implement. Okay, so that means a second protocol, which also limits concurrency, involves ordering all the items in the database and making sure that a transaction that needs several items will log them according to that order. So in which particular order the data items are going to be accessed by the transaction, in the same order, all the data items will be locked. Okay, so maybe a predefined set of program or a program is needed to do this particular process, right? So you should, the transaction or the particular program should aware this particular transaction is going to be processed in one particular order. Okay, for example, X, Y, Z. Okay, in that order. Then only, if you know the order of data item accessibility, then only you can use this particular protocol, right? So this is a second method for deadlock prevention. And the third protocol, we split into 2 types. This particular protocol, it needs a small logic to understand. and here it actually uses a timestamp. Okay, this third protocol uses a transaction timestamp. Timestamp, you know what it means with timestamp. It is a time. Okay, just nothing but a time, maybe with second or milliseconds or whatever. Okay, so with some time measurement will be attached with the transaction, each and every transaction. Okay, so here the first one is the protocol 3. The first method is wait die scheme. Okay, so some transaction will wait and some transaction will be aborted or died. Okay, that's what we call as die, right? The second method we have wound wait scheme. Okay, the only the slight difference is there between these two. Here one particular transaction will be waiting for a long time, and then the other transaction will be aborted. Okay, so the first, let's discuss about the first one, wait die scheme. Okay, so now let's take two transaction. Okay, so transaction T1 and transaction T2. We'll fix some timestamp. Okay, so for example, but transaction T1 is coming at 9 o'clock and then 1 minute. Okay, and then transaction T2 9 o'clock 2 minutes, right? So the first transaction 9 o'clock 1 minute, and then second transaction second transaction with 9 o'clock and then 2 minutes. So now which one is older and which one is younger? The first one 9 o'clock and 1 minute will be the older, and 9 o'clock 2 minutes will be the younger. Okay, so now the same idea we are going to use both the cases. Okay, so to understand which one is older and which one is younger. Okay, the transaction which is started first initially will become the older, and the transaction which is going to be started latest or recent, then it is going to be the younger. Okay, so now in the first case, what you are going to do in the wait die scheme, if the transaction T1 is older than Tj, right? For example, T1 is older than T2 and T1 is allowed to wait. Okay, if it is the older, transaction will be allowed to wait. Otherwise, if T1 is younger than Tj, about Ta, that is T1. Okay, the T1 will be dying, and restart it later with the same timestamp. Okay, so after aborting the particular younger transaction, you are going to restart it with the previous timestamp. Okay, so that it should not lose its priority. And what is the explanation for this? In a wait die, an older transaction is allowed to wait for a younger transaction, whereas a younger transaction requesting an item held by an older transaction is aborted and restarted. Okay, that's what. So you are allowing the older transaction to wait and then the younger transaction to be aborted. Then second one, the wound wait scheme. Okay, it is just opposite to the first one, right? So here with the same timestamp, we say we are just aborting Tj, that is T2, right? The previous one, we are just allowing the transaction T1 to wait, right? Otherwise, here what you are doing here, you are aborting T2 to abort. Okay, that means the Ta, which is older transaction, owns Tj, right? So then again, what you're going to do here, you are and restarting it later with the same timestamp. Otherwise, Ta younger than Tj, then Tj is allowed to wait. Okay, here Tj is allowed to wait. So maybe you can see the explanation here. The wound wait approach does the opposite. A younger transaction is allowed to wait for an older one. So here what happens here in the first case, you are allowing the older transaction is allowed to wait for the younger transaction, whereas here the younger transaction, that is the recent transaction, is allowed to wait for the older one. Okay, then whereas an older transaction requesting an item held by a younger transaction preempts the younger transaction by aborting it. Okay, so here you are just allowing the younger transaction to that is to die, whereas here you are preempting the younger transaction by aborting it. Okay, you are making the younger transaction to wait for the older one. Okay, so that's what. So just it does the opposite. Okay, so here we are talking about the two transaction, which is older and which is younger, and one is waiting and another one is waiting for the other one. Okay, so in this case, which one to be allowed to wait and which one to be allowed to die or abort, so that we have to decide. Okay, so based on this protocol, a particular transaction will be either allowed to wait or will be allowed to die or aborted. Okay, so this particular protocol you can apply to prevent the deadlock. And the fourth protocol for deadlock prevention is no waiting. Okay, this is a very simple method. What here we are doing actually in the no waiting algorithm, if a transaction is unable to obtain a lock, it is immediately aborted and then restarted after a certain time delay without checking whether deadlock will occur actually or not. That means for the transaction will be just coming and it will be seeing whether the data item is free or not. If the data item is being locked by some other transaction, it is just finishing its job and it is just going away. Okay, it is not going to wait for the data item, right? So again, maybe after a period of time, what the same transaction will try for the same data item, whether the transaction, that is the particular data item, is free or not. Okay, so here the transaction will not wait for the particular data item for a very long time. Just it comes and check whether the data item is free or not. If it is free, it is just going to lock the data item and then it is going to use it. Otherwise, it will not be waiting for the same data item. Okay, so maybe a certain time delay without checking whether the deadlock will actually occur or not. Maybe the particular data item is freed or not, it is not going to check, and with the certain time delay, again it is going to come and check. Okay, if the data item is freely available, it is going to just access it. And so the problem here is the transaction cost to abort and restart needlessly. So maybe if the particular transaction is keep on checking the particular data item, and it will be taking needless effort. Okay, so then the next one is next protocol is cautious waiting. So here it is a little bit the other modified version of the previous one, no waiting. The cautious waiting, what actually we are doing here is will be intimating to the particular transaction. That is, a cautious waiting algorithm was proposed to try to reduce the number of needless aborts and restart. The previous one, there is no cautious, just it is going to come and check the particular data item randomly with some time delay. But here you are just going to start the particular transaction with some cautious, right? So suppose the transaction TA tries to lock on data item X, but is not able to do so because X is locked by some other transaction TJ with a conflicting lock. Okay, so the cautious waiting rules, what is the rule is followed here? If TJ is not blocked and not waiting for some other blocked item, then TA is blocked and allowed to wait. Otherwise, abort TA. So here a simple small modification is done here in the cautious waiting. For example, you have a transaction T1 and T2, right? If the transaction T1 is using data item ABC, and the transaction is completed, now the data item is ABC, all the ABC data item is free, and now the transaction T2 coming, and when it sees all the ABC data items are totally free, and it is just going to use it. Okay, suppose if the transaction T1 still using one of the data item called B, and the transaction T2 will come and check the transaction that particular data item B is still is in usage. Okay, then it will check whether the same data item B is already locked by some other data item. Okay, so it's already locked by T1. Still, it is going to check whether some more transaction is waiting for to access the particular data item. Okay, that B, right? So if it is again it has to be locked, then it will not be waiting. Okay, otherwise only the transaction 1 is there, then what the transaction T2 will do, the transaction T2 will just wait for some time, and again once the job is over, the transaction T2 is going to access the data item B. Okay, so some cautious some kind of notifications are given in this particular protocol, right? Now the next one is deadlock detection. Okay, the previous model we have seen deadlock prevention, how you can prevent the deadlock. So there are various protocols you can apply to prevent the deadlock, but here we are going to talk about deadlock detection. Okay, the detection, once something happens, you will check whether the thing has happened or not. Okay, you are just going to find out whether the particular thing is happened or not. Okay, that's what detection, right? So here you'll be checking among the transaction if there is any deadlock, right? So in this particular deadlock method, obviously we'll be using a directed graph, okay, or otherwise a wait for graph. Okay, so by drawing a wait for graph among the transaction as well as the data item that are used by the transaction, based on that, if you draw the wait for graph, and if the wait for graph forms a cycle, then you can understand it forms a deadlock. Okay, if your wait for graph doesn't form any cycle there, then there is no deadlock. Okay, you'll be taking the transaction and then with the set of data item, and based on the transaction or based on the transaction read and write operation, you'll be drawing the wait for graph. Okay, so the wait for graph we already discussed. Suppose if TA is waiting to lock on data item X that is currently locked by a transaction Tj, a directed edge TA to Tj is created. Okay, if it is just waiting, right? We are not seeing whether it's a read or write. If it is a waiting, then you are going to create a edge from one transaction to the other transaction. Okay, the same concept we studied in conflict serializability. Okay, in the serial schedule, to understand the conflict serializability, we studied in the conflict serializability. If you have in the schedule, if you have more number of transaction, if the transaction forms a cycle in the precedence graph, then you can say there is a conflict. Okay, to identify the conflict in this schedule, we used that method. Okay, the same thing here we are using the directed edge from Ti to Tj when there is a waiting from one particular transaction to the other transaction for a particular data item. Okay, so you can understand from this diagram. Here you have two transactions, T1 and T2, right? So read log Y, read item Y, and then here read log X, and then read item X, write log X, and then write log Y. Okay, so there is a non-serializable execution takes place in this particular schedule, right? So it is not non-serial, right? Then here, based on the previous condition, that is the precedence graph, you can draw like this. That is T1, T2. There are two transactions that are there, and then the graph you can create as a node or the vertex as T1 and T2, and the edges you can form when there is a connectivity from T1 to T2, and when there is a connectivity from T2 to T1. Okay, so that means the same thing we discussed in the previous slide to understand the deadlock. Here the T1 is waiting queue for X and it is holding Y, and again T2 is waiting for Y and which is holding X. Okay, so it's vice versa. So when you find this type of condition, then in a wait for graph, then you can say there is a deadlock. Okay, this is how you can detect the deadlock in the transaction. And how to abort deadlock if deadlock occurs. So what is the remedy? So how you can remove or how you can abort or cancel the deadlock? Okay, if in a system there will be multiple transactions will be there. If there is a state of deadlock, some of the transaction causing the deadlock must be aborted. Okay, so first you need to find out which particular transaction is causing a deadlock. Okay, so then you should be able to cancel that particular transaction, right? So here the first method is victim selection. So as you know, the victim selection, maybe based on certain condition, you are going to choose a particular transaction to abort it. right? So here the algorithm for victim selection should generally avoid selecting transactions that have been running for a long time and that have performed many updates. Okay, so whenever the victim is being selected, maybe you can consider one particular parameter called timing. Okay, for example, there are two transactions T1 and T2, and T1 is started already and it is done most of the transaction work and it is about to complete. Okay, and then T2 is recently started and maybe the T2 doesn't perform too many updations there. Okay, so now which one will be benefited when you cancel the particular transaction? If you cancel the T1, because it is already done many updation, many changes in the table, and it is about to go about, it's just going to finish its work, and T2 has recently started. So now in the victim selection, if you choose T1 and again doing the same transaction, T1 will be time consuming, as well as it requires more number of resources. Okay, again performing the same transaction will be time consuming. And whereas when you select the T2, because it has recently started, it hasn't performed much, still it has to perform more number of tasks, then what you can do, you can choose the younger transaction or the recently started transaction to cancel it. Okay, this is for the victim selection, right? So just you are going to choose which particular transaction will be beneficially to cancel the particular, like to cancel the deadlock. Okay, so then the other method is timeout. Okay, the timeout method, what you will do, deal with deadlock with the use of timeout values. You'll be given some period of time, and then with the time limit, if you see the particular transaction is over, then you are allowing the transaction to be completed. Otherwise, you are just going to force the transaction to cut short. That is, you are going to finish. Okay, so this method is practical because if it's low overhead and simplicity. In this method, if a transaction waits for a period longer than a system defined timeout period, then the system assumes that the transaction may be deadlocked and aborts it. Okay, so in the timeout method, each and every transaction will be given some system defined time period, and if a particular transaction is still not completed beyond the time limit, and then the system will think or decide the particular transaction is in trouble, that is, it is in the deadlock condition. So what the system will do, the system will forcefully cancel or abort the particular transaction. Okay, so with the time limit values, it is going to work. And so these are the two abort deadlock, that is victim selection and timeout. And then the other one is starvation. Okay, so we have discussed deadlock, what is a deadlock, and what is a deadlock prevention method, and what are the deadlock detection. Okay, and then the next one is starvation. So starvation is the condition when a set of transactions are waiting for over period of time, that is very long time, okay, to access a particular data item. Okay, for example, if you have transaction T1, T2 and T3, and if the transaction T1 is keep on waiting for the particular data item X, okay, so the data item X is being used frequently or repeatedly by transaction T2 and T3. Okay, whereas the T1 transaction is keep on waiting for the same data item for, say for example, if it is infinite amount of time. Okay, so if it is keep on waiting for a particular locked item, maybe due to some unfair scheme. Okay, so giving priority to some transaction over the others. Okay, so in the same example, if the transaction T1 is not at all considered, whereas the T2 and T3 is given higher priority, and again the same T2 and T3 only is locking the data item X, and it is keep on using it. Okay, the T1 is waiting for very long time, right? So in this type of situation, we call as a starvation, right? So this type of starvation also leads to deadlock, right? So here the transaction will not be able to complete its other task. Okay, it is just keep on waiting for the particular data item only, right? So how we can avoid the starvation condition? So what are the possibilities, right? So here just we are going to see two solutions. Solution one, we'll just allocate some scheme there. Okay, so like first come first served. Okay, so maybe you would have studied first come first out in OS operating system. So similarly here, you can just fix a scheme, first come first serve queue. That means which particular transaction is coming first, and that particular transaction will be served first. Okay, so there will be a queue in the transaction, whichever comes first, and it is going to access the data item. Okay, the transactions are enabled to lock an item in order to in which they are originally requested the lock. So which particular order the transaction is requested for locking for a particular data item, the same order it is going to be processed. Okay, and the solution to is another scheme allows some transaction to have priority over others, but increases the priority of a transaction the longer it waits until it eventually gets the highest priority and proceeds. So we can take the same example. There are three transactions, T1, T2, and T3, and there is a data item X. Okay, and the same condition here. So T1 is keep on waiting, and T2 and T3 is allowed to access the data item, okay, for a very long period of time. So now under this scheme, what we are trying to do is, we'll just, when the time goes on, when the transaction T1 is keep on waiting for a particular period of time, and then based on the time limit, just we are trying to increase the priority of the transaction T1. Okay, so then when the priority of the T1 reaches a certain limit, then definitely the transaction T1 will be allowed to access the data item X. Okay, so instead of allowing the transaction T2 and T3, okay, in this case, you are based on the priority, you are just keep on increasing priority for a step by step, and then once the priority is reached into a certain limit, then what you are going to do, you will be allowing that waiting very long period waiting transaction to access the particular data item. Okay, so you can just avoid the starvation by applying the second solution also, right? So there are two things. One is you can apply some scheme, first come first serve, and then second one is you can just increase the priority of the transaction, that is longer it waits. Okay, so how much time it is waiting for the particular data item, and then based on that you can increase the priority so that you can avoid the starvation.
Hey there. Subscribe to my channel. And also press this bell icon.